everyone, it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A. I'm very excited about this. I love doing Q&As because it feels like I get to talk to you guys like almost like one-on-one. It's so awesome. I got a lot of questions and some of them are really fun and I'm excited to dive in. I don't know how long this is going to be, so if need be, I might switch this up and upload in 2 parts. How did you find your CPs and beta readers? So I found all of mine through either, let's see, I found my first critique partner in a really old Facebook writers group. I don't know if those still exist. I'm assuming they do. And then I found my second critique partner through Author Mentor Match, which is a mentorship program. And she just kind of like saw my pitch and knew I did Authortube. It's Lainey Crest, she does Authortube too. And she knew me from Authortube, and then we both got into the same round of Author Mentor Match, and so she just slid into my DMs and was like, hey, let's be friends. But yeah, Twitter is a great place to find CPs and betas. I think like just making friends in general is the best way to do it, because then once you're close with someone and they're a writer too, you can just like slip your book to them or exchange books. That's always like the easiest thing to do. So if you're looking for CPs and betas, I would suggest Twitter and follow some of the popular writing hashtags like hashtag writing community, hashtag pitch wars, hashtag author mentor match. You can even like hashtag the exact genre and age category. So like am writing YA fantasy, and see who else is following that, and just start talking to people and start making friends. What are your big 3 signs? I'm assuming this is like astrology. So I love astrology. My sun is Sagittarius, my rising is Capricorn, and my moon's in Aries. We're not gonna talk about it, okay? Don't judge me. I judge myself enough. If you should try a new genre you have never written before, what would it be? Well, I have a book planned, my Crimson Girls book. That one is gonna be kind of like a ghosty horror. More horror than anything I've ever written, so I will be trying that. I also have like a literary idea for an adult book. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen. Like, it would be so far down on the list, but it would be something cool to try, and I think it would be a new challenge for me, and I always like trying new things with writing. Oh, and then this person also asked, can you do a writing routine video? I love watching those. I unfortunately do not have a writing routine. I'm very ill a lot of the time, so I don't have a routine. I just write when I feel good, and when I feel good, I usually just sit down and I start writing. Like, there's nothing fancy about it, just fingers on keyboard, butt in chair. So sorry I can't provide there. Trisha asked, how is your witchy woo-woo learning going? It is going great, thank you very much. I'm having a great time. And what new stuff have you learned? Okay, so I am into the woo. If you guys didn't know that, welcome to my channel. I am your neighborhood garden grandma witch. Few things I learned. So usually I just like to learn like about herbalism. So like teas and tinctures and lotions and shampoos, like stuff like that I like to make. I call them my little potions and I use them. And recently I made a apple cider, well, a rosemary infused apple cider hair rinse. Apple cider vinegar hair rinse, and it was wonderful. I had it infusing for 6 weeks, and then I finally like used it in my hair, and it's actually still in there. I haven't washed my hair since I've used it, and I'm really happy with it. You probably can't see. I have so much, well, yeah, you can kind of see there. See that shimmer? Woo woo! I normally have very dull hair. Apple cider vinegar rinses help with dandruff, they help with hair growth, and they help with like luster and gleam and just like stripping all of the gross impurity stuff that your shampoo can't get. So I enjoyed learning about that and infusing it for a long time and using it. So I feel very witchy and it feels very powerful. Also, what's the new thing you have been learning about? Trisha is talking about my obsession. So I go through these stages where I get really obsessed with a certain niche topic, and I researched the heck out of it for like anywhere from like a couple weeks to a couple months. So recently my obsession has been cults. I started out with the Nixium cult, which was the one that just like blew up a couple years ago. So interesting. I really enjoyed that one. Then I went to Jonestown, I went to Scientology, and the most recent one I watched was the Rajneeshis in Oregon. so interesting. Sweet or salty? Definitely salty. And how are your animals doing? They are doing so well. They are utterly spoiled and ridiculous. And even my little baby familiar strays outside are doing really, really great. Something I've been struggling with in writing is decision making. Like, I don't want to choose what is going to happen next because I'm worried I'll commit to the wrong idea. If you have any advice, please help. I've been on Act 1 for 3 years. Oh no! Well, here's the thing. You know, I have a problem with this too. I'm very much so a very stringent outliner. I like to get as much figured out in the beginning as possible, but sometimes I have to like tell myself, you just have to get it done, because that's the reason revision exists, right? Is if you do make the wrong step, you can change it later, but you have to have something done in order to revise, right? Like you have to poop in the toilet to clean the toilet. But yeah, if you're really stuck, I mean, you can always read craft books, see what certain beats are supposed to be happening, how they flow with storytelling, and maybe that'll help. And then later, if you choose a certain path and you don't like it, you revise it and you make it better. But you have to get a first draft done, you know, and that's the only way you can move on. What's your all-time favorite book? How am I supposed to answer that? Oh my gosh. Probably God's Grave by J. Kristoff. This is an adult, very gritty, very grungy assassin story, and this is the second book in the series. It literally was so intense it gave me a migraine. I have never read a book before that I had such a visceral experience to, so much so that I literally was in pain and puking within like 30 minutes after finishing it. How would you say your writing style changed across middle grade YA and adult projects, and what stays the same? Are you always humorous, or do you tend to only crack jokes in middle grade, etc.? Okay, this is a really interesting question. I'm gonna ignore the adult part because I have yet to write an adult book, but with YA and middle grade, my YAs in general seem to be a bit more serious in tone. They're like war stories, or they're like a thriller where people are dying. So my main characters are dealing with a lot more like gritty, dark stuff. So the tone ends up being a bit more serious. I think there are a few humorous spots. I know there's going to be in my thriller because my main character is like really like taciturn and just mean. But the sidekick character is like, I think like kind of goofy and positive and like a comic relief. So I think there is a little bit of humor. But overall, the tone is very dark. It's very serious. Whereas with middle grade, I like to have fun. But in general, like my authorial voice does change quite a bit because there are certain words and phrases that I would use in middle grade that I wouldn't use in YA, or vice versa. For example, like there are just some words that are just funny that sound like kids words, like galumph and slime and like, I don't know, like things like that I would use in kids books that I wouldn't use in adult. And especially now, having worked with an editor, she really helps point out some things that, like, you know, are a little bit mature for a child's book. She's like, do we really need to use this word? Like, we can use this word. It's a lot easier to understand and it kind of fits the flow of the story. And I'm like, you're right. Tell us more about your protagonist for the Secret Society middle grade fantasy. I'm working on a middle grade high fantasy and I think it's so cool that you are too. It's such a fun genre category. It is, and you know, like I can't wait to start working on that, but unfortunately it's like such a far away project, but I'm very excited for it. The boy goes to a academy and he takes it very seriously. And the girl is the one trying to infiltrate the school and the secret society within the school. And she's kind of more like the street urchin, ragtag, kind of grumpy little 11-year-old. And her and the boy don't like each other, but they have to team up for some goal. What that goal is, I have not yet figured out, but it will be fun and it will be goofy. I know that. What is the process of working with a professional editor been like so far? Any surprises, pleasant or otherwise? It's actually been really like calm and like chill. It honestly reminds me a lot of working with a critique partner, because that's kind of what they are, right? Is a very involved critique partner. Most of the time my editor will send me an edit letter where she will gush about the book and everything I did right, so you know it doesn't hurt my feelings when she gets into like all the things that I haven't fixed yet. And then she will bullet point things that still need to be worked on, and usually she puts like a chunky paragraph so I know like I have a lot of good detail. And usually at the very end of that edit letter she will offer to get on a phone chat to talk about points more, and sometimes she just like will be like, hey, I want to call and talk to you because I can explain this better in person. So we'll chat, I'll take some notes while we chat, and then I will get in and do the revisions. Along with the edit letter, she also sends my entire manuscript with like inline comments, so she can be like, you know, little asterisks here like, oh hey, this is what I was talking about in the edit letter, can we do something here? What are your thoughts, feelings about switching from YA to middle grade when you've written only YA for so long? How huge were the differences between them, and how did you nail the 12-year-old voice versus a teenager, and was the transition difficult? What really helped me was that I read a lot of middle grade. So the transition into middle grade wasn't as difficult, I think, as most people would think it is if you read a lot of middle grade. Like if you really immerse yourself in that kind of writing style and voice, if you read enough of it, it almost will start to come natural to you. And that's kind of what happened for me. I knew when I was going to go into middle grade, I was very nervous I wouldn't be able to do it. So I did. I read like, I think like 15 middle grade books before I even started within a year, just because I was like, I want to make sure that I can do this and I know what the norms are and things like that. Okay, so for how huge the differences were and how did you nail a 12-year-old voice? The differences are moderately substantial. So like I've mentioned, there are some words that I would use in certain genre or in certain age categories that I wouldn't use in others. I like to be a little bit more playful in middle grade, I think, than you can be in YA, especially with your word choice. You can like make up your own words in middle grade as like adjectives or verbs, and it like totally works because it's kids, it's playful, they have an imagination. You can really have fun with it. And how I nailed the 12-year-old voice, well, I hope I nailed it. Again, reading is very, very important, and just kind of writing to your 12-year-old self. Like really think about who you were when you were 12. What's your favorite cult? Perfect question. Currently, it's the Rajneesh. They're still around to this day, kind of. I feel like if I was to join any cult, which is another question. Lady asked me if I was to join any cult, what would I join? And I think it would be the Rajneesh. They're just like chill, like they want to live off the land and like coordinate outfits and like sometimes be naked. Like they're just living their life, you know? I mean, yeah, one of their leaders kind of went off the rails and poisoned thousands of people and tried to assassinate a couple government officials, but overall what they're doing is great. Would you ever write a series or a trilogy? What would this most likely entail? Yes, so my first book that died in the query trenches, that was going to be a 4-book YA dark fantasy series that I still want to work on one day. That'll be later in the future. I don't know if it's marketable at all. It might be something that I like just do one day for fun and then like yeet out on Amazon, like self-publish. I don't know. I would love to traditionally publish it, but I can't see with the market right now or anytime soon them taking a book like that. It's so sad, but mermaids are just not hot, and I think we need to start a rebellion against publishing to be like, bring mermaids back. Also, I have a middle grade in the brainstorming process that I would really like to have be like my 3rd middle grade published after the Glass Witch comes out and the Odd Book is out. That would be my option I would give to Scholastic, is this hopefully a duology, but it will be a secret society high fantasy middle grade. How do you keep track of progress when editing? When I draft, I track progress with beats and word count. When I edit though, I struggle with a good motivating system to track progress. So I actually track my progress in my planner. I could probably insert a little clip or a picture of one of the books that I use the tracker for. It just is very motivating that when I finish a chapter, I just get to fill in one of the little squares. It makes me feel like, you know, I've accomplished something, and it's fun to see it fill up the closer and closer you get to finishing the book. First person versus third person. I think my favorite is first person just because I really like the intimacy and the closeness that comes with first person. Also, it's really popular in thrillers, which thrillers is like my favorite genre after fantasy. So yeah, I like first person. Starting Authortube, what are your feelings? Well, I feel like if you want to do it, you should totally go for it. It's been absolutely life-changing for me, which is odd because I never thought when I started this channel I would have, first of all, anyone watch, second of all, get any of the opportunities that I've had, make any of the friends that I've had, or, you know, just, I don't know, have such a good time. And this person said, I'm curious about the chocolate thing, because I asked, like, you know, you can ask me anything, and then I listed a bunch of things, and I was like, dark chocolate versus milk chocolate. The answer is dark chocolate. I like bitter things. I like black coffee. I like dark bitter chocolate. Like, that's just, that's my vibe. It soothes my dark black hole of a heart. And I'd love to hear more about the querying pitching synopsis. That is a very large topic in and of itself, so I'm going to direct you to my querying playlist. I think that would be the easiest way to do that, because these are really, really large topics. I could make multiple videos on each of them. So I'm going to direct you to my querying playlist below. I will link it there for you to check out. And then this person asked about the cozy spot where I film most of the time. Was it set up already, or did you set it up specifically for your channel? I just wanted a cute, cozy reading nook. And so I popped up a little chair. I got my dresser there with my plants, all of my favorite books, and I just, you know, kind of have a cute little nook, and it just happens to work out very nicely. What date did you send your query to your current agent? How long did it take her to request a sample? And when did you get the email about the call? Ooh, I don't remember this off the top of my head. I know I queried her and I got the full request in the fall of last year, and I got the email about having a phone chat with her in January of this year. Is there something specific you aim for to have made it as an author? Oh, I never thought about that. I mean, I guess like the first time I have a reader come up to me and like tell me they've read my book, or I don't know, send me a letter saying that they love my book or something, that seems like that would be really, really special to me, and something that is obtainable. Like, I would like to say, oh yeah, I go to a big fancy publishing party in New York and drink highballs with all the high rollers. But yeah, just I feel like I will feel like a real author when I have proof that children have read my book, you know? What about the Glass Witch and the Odd Book are you most proud of? Oh my gosh, okay, this is a fun question. Okay, I think the thing that I'm most proud about with the Glass Witch, that I've actually made people cry with it. I had a beta reader, a critique partner, my agent, and my editor all cried the first time they read the book, specifically the climax. Like, so like that is so heartwarming to me, and that means I touched readers and that I like emotionally involved them in my book, which I'm very, very proud that I was able to pull that off. With Tobe is like such a she's a hot mess right now. She's still in first draft form, but I'm proud of the fact that I think I pulled off some really good twists in that book. And then they asked, what about these books made you struggle or grow the most? So with the Glass Witch, I have little portions of the book that are told in the villain's point of view, and I feel like trying to find the balance between writing a snippet in an adult's point of view but making it in a way that it still is relatable for children, I feel like that really pushed me, and that's one of the biggest things that I worked on with my editor at Scholastic. And I'm really proud of that because I struggled with that. We worked on it for 3 different rounds of revisions until I got it down. And yeah, so I feel like I grew a lot there. And for Tobe, I have a very present narrator in that book. And I think the struggle there is going to be finding the balance between how much of it I want the narrator to be telling and how much of it I just want the story to be told without the narrator, if that makes sense. Like, when do I put in the narrator's voice and have that balance, and also not like overwhelm the reader with the narrator's voice, you know? So I think that will be the biggest growth for me with this book. And that kind of answers the questions, what difficulties and victories do you foresee in the near future? Any tips for sticking with a work in progress? I love my work in progress, but I tend to hit ruts where I feel like I'm too paralyzed to continue, even though I'm not actually. Honestly, this is just good old-fashioned elbow grease and self-determination. Like, you just have to make yourself do it. Like, I make myself finish every book because I know I need to, and it's good practice to finish stuff, especially if you like want to make writing your career. You just gotta do it. I don't have any fancy advice for you. Just button chair, fingers on keyboard. My friend Abby, she's German. Her family always says, like, when they just need to get something done, like Pop ein Stuhl, which means button chair in German. So get your Pop ein Stuhl. I got a couple questions about unpopular opinions, if I have any, writing or not related. I don't feel like I have a lot of controversial opinions. Like, funnel cakes are awful. Like, they I get nauseous just thinking about all of that sugar and like oil. Frank's hot sauce is the best hot sauce, followed by sriracha, Cholula, and then Tabasco is just a waste of environmental resources. Cats are really aliens sent on this world to spy on us, maybe? They might be demons. Either way, they're not of this world. Stranger Things really isn't all that good. You're just nostalgic for the 80s or jumping on the vintage mania train. Many people say that writing each book is different. Is there anything at all that has stayed the same with all the books you've written? Yes, actually. My process so far has not changed too much book to book. I usually take roughly about 3 months, give or take a couple weeks, to write each draft, and then I take a week off. I reread the book, and when I reread, I take notes of things that I want to change, and then I get in with the revisions and do them. So there's really not that much of a change for me. Besides writing and selling a book, what has been your biggest achieved goal in life? Wow. Okay. I feel like my biggest goal is like a personal, like self-growth thing that I have achieved like the past year. The place that I'm at now is such an accomplishment to where I was like a year and a half ago mentally. I'm so much more confident. I've been working on confidence so hard this year, and I feel like I'm getting in such a good place with it. I feel much happier. I feel much more in control of my life, and my relationship with my disability is a lot better. So that to me, even though there's nothing like tangible that I can hold or like a plaque or a diploma and be like, I did this, just internally knowing that I have grown so much and feel so much healthier in my own skin this year feels like such a massive accomplishment, and it feels really powerful. How do you deal with imposter syndrome that may or may not have left you feeling like your writing was mediocre or not heightened enough for traditional publishing? I don't know how to answer this question. I'm gonna sound cocky, but like my imposter syndrome is not about my writing. I actually, going with my last answer, I feel very confident in my abilities with my writing. So I never felt like I was not good enough of a writer to get into publishing. But I do have imposter syndrome when it comes to being like a professional author. Like I am worried that I will not be able to do all that I want to do because of my disability. Like if the world ever opens up again and we do like, there are things like school tours and book signings and things like that, I fear that I'm not gonna be like a real author because I might not be able to do those things. So that is where my imposter syndrome lies. But I deal with that by telling myself to shut up. Like it's one of those thoughts that are just like unimportant, untrue. There's this psychological technique of when you have a negative thought, you just like imagine yourself picking it up and throwing it in the trash can and being like, nope, that's not real, that's not important, it's out of the way. Okay, I think that's all that I'm gonna fit in this first part. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in part 2. Bye!